node streamer is the fourth iteration from Bluesound and keeps the same shape as the old 2i. The plastics are a new, shiny, less sticky plastic to the 2i. The top has a glass touch-sensitive control pad, and the logo is now silver badged and not painted. It's actually a UPnP streamer, meaning you can play music off your network drives. The DAC can handle high-res 24192 files from streaming services like Quobuzz, but you've also got MQA files from Tidal Masters, which is a big bonus of this streamer. Tidal Connect and Spotify Connect too, meaning you can play music from these streaming services to your node from their own apps. Also, it's AirPlay capable for transferring music from Apple devices and Bluetooth aptX HD, which is two-way on this streamer, so you can send music to it or get music from it, say to Bluetooth headphones like my Sony's I use. Also, it's a Roon ready streamer, so over the network and via USB, and that's going to be happening in an update. And if you like talking, try Google's Assistant or Amazon's Alexa.
Alexa, do you like listening in on my hi-fi reviews?
Sometimes, Simon, but other times you can be a right.
Oh. Changes are actually more internal so far as new versus old. Bluesound tell me that the power supply has been redesigned with fewer and better parts. There's a newer DAC, and also it's got a quad-core ARM processor now with a faster spec, which allows future-proofing, but it also allows better sound through its improved efficiencies. Right, so the first difference you should have got in my little quiz, if we could call it that, is that the left and right analog outputs are around the other way. So give yourself a point if you got that right. A neat touch that its right is your left, good for cable management on similar design amps. Both the 2i and the new Node have the same subwoofer out connection. Both have coaxial and optical digital outputs. Then you've got three 3.5mm connectors common to both again, an optical digital in which doubles as a 3.5mm analog input, so you could connect a turntable or maybe a CD player, and you can stream content to other BluOS devices. This is the app that Bluesound use. Then you've got similar trigger outs, so the node can turn on other devices that have trigger inputs when your node plays. And by the way, it's always on and in ready mode because there's no on-off switch. The final socket is an infrared remote connection for adding an adapter remote sensor if the node is, put in a cupboard. And you can use it with the $60, £50-ish Bluesound RC1 remote as well. It then gets very different because whilst both streamers have an Ethernet socket for hard wiring to the network, and obviously both of them are Wi-Fi 2 I should say, the old Node 2i's USB socket is an input only for playing music off, say, USB pen drives. But the new Node's USB socket is both an input for these types of drives and an output. Output as USB 2 spec for a DAC or DAC in your amp or wherever it sits. However, USB 2 isn't operable yet, as I've said, until BluOS release an update. And if you're watching this in maybe 6 months' time, you might be thinking, well, what the hell is on about? It's already there. Tick 2 is that the new Node does away with the micro USB socket of the 2i, which was only for manufacturer serviceable updates as it's no longer needed. But a big change, and tick 3, is the new Node's HDMI ARC return socket, which means you can connect up a TV and send on sound. Although, not really being a kind of home cinema-y person, it's not really something that I would use, but obviously you've got to cater for everyone. First thing to notice is the top display comes on when the Node senses motion, not an apparition around your living room, but that, your hand getting close. On the touch sensitive top, you can slide the volume slider left or right, or tap the dots to the left or right to fine tune volume. Tap the left or right arrows to change tracks, and the circle is a coloured status indicator, but it also doubles as a play and pause button. The other top 5 touch dots, not those types. We used to play that game in the 80s as kids. But these ones are presets, which is a fantastic don't F about to get your music started way of coming in from a hard day at work. Just turn on your amp and press the dot button and it starts playing your chosen playlist. So in BluOS, you just tap on My Presets, then the plus button to add one, then tap Preset Sound, then on one of my playlists for say Tidal by pressing Tidal My Playlists and then choosing one. Also the buttons can be used for free internet tune-in radio stations, so if you don't fancy the plethora of music there is out there on streaming services, and again you're coming in from a hard day's work, you could just tune it to play the shipping forecast maybe, whatever floats your boat. Oh come on.
Tyne Dogger. Southwest backing southeast 3 or 4. Thundery showers. Good, occasionally moderate.
You'll notice the 3.5mm headphone jack at the front. It's what you'd expect, to be honest. You know, it's not going to win any kind of sound award of the year. But let's be fair really, this is a streamer and it's more a convenience feature. Well, at least for ardent audiophiles like me anyway, who are going to spend a lot more or a decent amount more for an extra headphone amp. Because the Node has a volume control, you can in theory use it as a streaming preamp with a power amp, but turning off fixed output level in settings in BluOS. And you can also set maximum and minimum volume limits so that you don't inadvertently damage your speakers by maxing volume. I can pride myself on never having done that, although I was once in a dealer's when he did it, and it was quite funny, but obviously not funny for him. I've paired both of my Nodes, I should say, using similar Atlas RCA cables, so I could actually just flick the analog inputs of my Hagel amp to hear any change, and I ended up swapping back and forth on the better set of Atlas equator cables anyway. And what I can report from these kind of DAC'd up tests, if you like, is that it's pretty obvious after a while that the new node is dynamically better and with detail too, but it's very slight, and contrary to some commentators saying there is no improvement, I don't actually agree with that. I think that the new node is clearly the improver on a Sonos port, £150-ish less in the UK, because the port is just less neutral and less detailed. This node is more the audiophile performer. What does the node sound good with? Well, what doesn't it sound good with is more the question, because it's more an all-rounder characterised with neutrality, good detail and dynamics at price. So I can't do the kind of archetypical reviews. The clarinet vibrato on Mozart's concerto sounded subliminally refined, or like maybe Jim Morrison's The Indians on the Highway just leapt into my soul, man. So I thought I'd mention some albums I'm playing at the moment instead.
Play that song right now as well. It's kind of my go-to song for sound checks.
With its DACs, it still doesn't quite have the same space, depth, detail and soundstage of something like a Cambridge Audio CXM version 2, which takes things up a notch, maybe 20% if we had to put a figure on it. But then the Node doesn't have the CXN's price tag, so it swings and roundabouts. Agnes Obel's lush, wide melodies on the Citizen of Glass album is emphatic at showing this. It sounds like I'm taking the mickey out of myself given my last comment, doesn't it? But anyway, like the Node 2i, what I can say is that if you use the Node as just a transport, it's the same as the CXN version 2, and it improves on the Cambridge Audio with its BluOS app. It's probably going to be more than pulling on the coattails of many of these USB Ethernet Roon endpoints that are on the market at the moment, and similar in price to the Node, where sound quality between streamers as transports around these types of prices tends to be small in my experience, but where the Node wins, I think, is in bags more utility and flexibility. So when Bluesound bring out the new USB update, you could use it as a Roon USB endpoint, and you might not want MQA from Tidal or the touchpad top or BluOS or a DAC, but you might as well have all these features for the sake of a possible different setup in the future and sound quality that frankly is very similar. As a transport into another DAC, and I've got a fair few lying about at the moment, a Chord Qtist RME ADI2 DAC FS and a Denafrips Aries 2 R2R ladder DAC, and a very good DAC in my Hagel H390 as well, it's basically tough to say that the new Node is appreciably improved as a transport, but there is a sense of a slightly bigger, wider sound, not more detailed though. Grouping the two players and swapping the cable back and forth is how I did that test. I think that the Bluesound Node is kind of everyman hi-fi that's good for everyone. It's like an alien has arrived to Earth from planet Zog, bought a Ferrari just for driving to the shops, then realised you can have your cake and eat it to the same job with a lesser priced car. The Bluesound has the last laugh on those who always, and I'd caveat the word always, equate very high price with performance. It's just not true here. For its price, this streamer is still a real steal on sound features, BluOS and so on. Using its DACs, it will work well in sub 2,000 to 3,000-ish systems, and as a digital transport, it will work well with pretty much everything most people own, especially streaming online content. Okay, you can get better from some servers and other systems like, in my experiences, the Sonore optical render playing locally stored content, and that's when the node will be sussed out, but only if your kit is going to reveal it, of course. Also some servers from the likes of UNPAID. These are all much more expensive and with higher diminishing returns. So is it actually an upgrade to the Node 2i for the modest upgrade cost in audiophile type terms, selling your Node 2i? Well, I think the answer is yes on that score, but it's more a case of all the extra utility than all-out sound quality. Anyway, thanks for watching this little video. I hope you got something out of it. Add your comments and subscribe on YouTube. And if you want ad-free videos, chats and questions answered, please sign up to Patreon at very low cost. Currently doing it for $5, €5, £5 a month, and posting ad-free videos to Vimeo that you can access on Patreon. I can't answer questions anymore because it takes away from the time I can produce this content, and I've decided I'm only going to answer questions about products, A to B, recommendations for products to people who support my channel, which I think in the circumstances is fair enough.